Good evening there, and welcome to our latest Elite FPL podcast. This is a special podcast where we're going to be meeting one of the managers in our Elite FPL league, 225th in the world, Jack Gleeson. Good evening, Jack. How are you?
Hi, Dan. Thanks for inviting me on. It's cool to be on the show. I've been following along for a few months now this year, and best stream out there.
So we like to.
We didn't pay him. We didn't pay him to say that, by the way.
Your checks in the post, but yeah, obviously as ever, going to be asking the manager how his team has done this season, how he's done so well. Stevo's got about 25 questions for him, but if you are in the chat and you've got any questions, please let us know. And I'll pass over to Stevo. Stevo, you've got some questions for Jack about his amazing success this season so far.
Yeah, I'm going to kick off, Jack. And again, thanks for joining us. This is an absolute honour. The first question is, how does it feel to be 225th in the world?
It's been weird. It's like I wasn't really looking at my rank at all for the first few months, and then it wasn't the global rank that cropped up. It was the Irish rank. I started doing once I realised I was in the top 10 in Ireland. It was like, okay, I might not get the chance to do this every year. So then I actually got to number 1 in Ireland. That was very cool. I wasn't really concentrating on the global rank until I got in the top 50, and then I was like, okay, I might have a chance of doing really well. But then, when you look at the guys in the top 10 in the world, they're freaks. I hope they don't mind me saying that, but some of them can it's like they can see the future. It's weird.
So you just said something there which kind of answers one of the questions beforehand. So what's your mindset when you actually play FPL? Because you only started 2 seasons ago. And if we look at your game week history, so you started in the 2016-17 season, you had a respectable rank of 527,000. Following year, 2017-18, you got to 165,000. And let's be honest here, you've climbed up to as high as 58, which was as recent as game week 19. What are you putting down the success of your rank climb in such a small amount of time? Because this is just absurd.
A few things. Like the first year I started playing, it was just a few of my mates had a league and did okay. Well, won their league, and then the next year looked at it. I was following it a little bit closer, and then won that. And then this year is when I entered the league that was a cash league, and taken it way more seriously this year. Wasn't trying to win that. And I've always followed football closely, but now it's like I'm a United fan. I'd always watch United games, but now I'm watching other games, watching other players from other teams, and just kind of seeing how they play and who's kind of doing well in other teams and how they're who's getting far forward. Fantasy wise.
And what do you? Like you just mentioned the cash league and everything. Obviously, the three of us, we take. It's funny you bring up the Irish league, because I couldn't care less where I end up in the overall ranks. All I care about is coming in the top 4 of our cash mini league, because that's where the majority of our cash prize is. You've just mentioned there about being in a cash league with your friends. Do you just play this game for fun, or do you take it seriously because of the cash at stake?
Both, definitely both. In the league, the kind of fun league with my good friends, we don't have a prize for first. What we have is a punishment for last. So I'm not in contention to lose that, but it's funny. Last year we had the loser had to go up one of the highest mountains in Ireland with no phone or nothing. That was the punishment, and he did it. Right. And they have a similar one this year. And then the cash league is I just started this year, and winning that by a decent bit. So that's more serious than fun. And then the Irish league, yeah, it was very cool to get to number one in that. It's like there's 250,000 players in Ireland, I think, and yeah, now that's my main thing now. Even more so than the Cash League, to win the Irish League would be my main goal, and then that would obviously bring a good global rank as well. But it's the Irish League is what I'm concentrating on now. I think I'm around the top 10. But it's a long way to go.
Yeah, you're 12th at the moment in the Irish League, and number one in that, I think I just looked at it just now, is where is it? He's 27th in the whole world. It's just quite what is it with the Irish beer? I mean, what is going on here? This is just mental. Just looking at this league in itself.
It's like I think Norway's got the highest percentage of people in the top 1K or something. They've got
the Norwegians are ridiculously good. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet. Someone reckons they have a fancy university over in Norway. But it's crazy how many of them are in the top 100. Even it's weird. I don't know how. I can't explain it. Your man, the chess player, Magnus Carlsen's Norwegian, and he's up in the top 200 as well.
So
is that the guy that's, like you just said, that's someone like one of the world's best chess players or something, and he's playing FPL for the first time?
Magnus Carlsen. Yeah, but he captained. I think he captained Hazard last game week. So he had a bit of a blip in his record form. I just want to quickly take the opportunity to welcome Jack and everybody in chat as said hello. We had a bit of an audio issue at the beginning. I apologise. I forgot to mute a secondary audio check that Skype has with it has an NDI source, but I don't want to go too much into detail because I'm sure you'll fall asleep. Hello, man, Dylan, Notorious Nerds in chat. He asks Jack, Jack, what are your blank and double game week strategy? What differential moves do you have in mind to move up? Now, feel free to let us know your strategy, Jack. Considering I'm only a few hundred behind you. Have you thought about it? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, everything. But what is the plan for that? Well, I still have all my chips, which at this stage last year, I used the free hit quite early last year, and it did work. I remember doing very well from that, but I'm happy to have all the chips because the short answer is I don't know what I'm doing yet because all of it, the schedule hasn't been done yet. It hasn't fully been done yet. Like, I know that some teams won't have a blank. Like Liverpool, I don't think will have a blank.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'll definitely use I won't use my wild card until those double game weeks come up. Maybe for the last 4 weeks, I might try and keep it as long as I can. And the same with the free hit, and the bench boost will definitely be used in the double game week as well. Bench boost will. I'm not sure about free hit. Well, free hit makes most sense to do in the blank. The blank that has, as in the biggest blank, the week with the fewest games, free hit would be the best for that. So yeah, I don't know what I'm doing yet, but it'll be something like that.
Wait. So you're saying that a free hit would be better than so a free hit in a blank game week is better used than when you've accidentally taken a -8, for example.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So Jack, we're really grateful you're here. Now, when I first saw you rising up the Elite FPL league, and I saw you in our podcast chat, your name kind of stood out to me because there's a certain character in Game of Thrones that's got your name, and actually I delete my comments in chat is actually said that he expected Joffrey Baratheon to be on the podcast this evening. do you get that every now and again when you
Yeah, I've actually met him twice.
Oh wow.
It's a weird story because I randomly added like 2 or 3 different Jack Gleesons on Facebook years ago, and he went to a school near me in Dublin. And so we were actually friends on Facebook before he was in Game of Thrones, and we didn't know each other at all. And then we just ended up meeting each other in town. Just briefly, like we were drunk, and it was just kind of like, hey, it's the same.
Wow, there you go.
Met him twice in town in Dublin. He's a great guy. I think he's given up acting.
Yeah, anyway. That's what he was saying. Now we've got John Chappell said that Magnus Carlsen did indeed captain Hazard, doubled his rank. We've got Paul Wickett in chat saying hello to you, Jack. Yeah, so guys, if you've got any questions for Jack, he's with us this evening. He's ranked overall 225 in the world. It's insane. Ranked 12 in Ireland. If you've got any questions, let me know in chat, and I'll forward them through to Jack to answer. And I think Steve-O might have a few more questions.
I haven't said a lot, so I think I'll just interject.
Go on then.
It's one of our favourite words on this podcast. So Jack, I mean, obviously you're a big Man United fan, and obviously doing very well, extraordinarily well this season. How do you find it hard to avoid club bias? So what I mean by that is, like say for me, obviously I'm a big Arsenal fan, and I'm thinking, right, Aubameyang and Bellerin, obviously when he's fit. Do you, like when Man United are doing really well at the moment, obviously they've picked up, and the assets like Pogba, Rashford are worth having. Most people got them. But earlier in the season, when United weren't doing so well, but some of the fixtures were still favourable, was it a case of like heart over head, or are you quite like, no, it's a game, and I'm not going to be swayed by that kind of emotion, I guess, sentiment?
They were just so bad at the start of the year that I didn't consider getting them in, even though I would have liked to. And then they just kept playing so badly under Mourinho. And it was weird that I went the first half of the season with no United players and no intention of getting them. They were just not on the radar at all. And then when Solskjaer comes in, I knew there would be a bit of an uptick. So I went for Martial. Instead of Pogba, which kind of came back to bite me. And a lot of people did the opposite. A lot of people went for Pogba straight away. And I've taken out Martial recently and gotten Pogba back in because I wasn't sure whether he would come good, but he really did. The fact he's on penalties then as well, it's like a no-brainer to have Pogba now. Everyone has him now. The people that moved quickly to get him in got the most out of him, because he did really well straight away. And then I've got Rashford as well, because he seems to be the first choice now over Lukaku. Solskjaer seems to really like him.
Yeah, he's doing very well. Very well. Hopefully not so well on Friday in the cup game, but he's doing well so far.
8-2 again, hopefully.
Oh, you have to mention. No more mentions of 8-2 on this podcast. So, Steve, have you got any other questions? I know you had quite a.
I've got hundreds of questions here. I want to. So I'm just looking here that in game week 5 you wildcarded and you got 95 points with Hazard getting you, if you remember, a hat-trick against Cardiff, and he was your captain. You rose from 41,000 to 2,000.
Yeah.
How are you? I mean, at this point here, that's kind of like the stage at which you just start to climb. Although you've got quite a few red arrows between game weeks 5 up to your highest rank, which is game week 19. But that's kind of where your rose started. Did you feel something was special happening then when you got that captain choice bang on the money?
Yeah, definitely, because it was because not many other people did it. I remember I had Sadio Mane for the first 4 weeks, and he got double digit scores in 3 of the first 4. And I was kind of looking at it thinking, he doesn't usually do this well. I thought he was going to regress a bit from the mean. Like if you look at previous seasons, he doesn't just keep doing that. He is good and he's capable, but he's not that consistent. So I thought, I took a bit of a gamble thinking, even though he's been doing really well, I'm going to take him out. And because I thought he was going to regress, and he did. He didn't do anything when I took him out. And I brought in Hazard that week. He got a hat-trick. So I think what's just as important as bringing players in at the right time, bringing players out at the right time is just as important. and not hanging on to players for too long after they take a dip. Because, you know, a lot of people wait too long before they move on a player. And I don't think, people talk about patience and stuff, but I think there's a kind of people get confused between patience and stubbornness with holding on to players. So, yeah. That was definitely a move. Like, there's obviously luck involved there, but that was a huge, as you said, that completely changed the trajectory of the season.
Yeah, I mean, what is your thoughts on taking hits? Because you did not take a hit until game week 15, and from that moment on, between game week 15 and up to now 23, you've actually taken a 4 hits, all only 4-point hits. So you save your transfers.
Yeah.
What is the mindset behind that? Is it just for the simple fact that you do this from a safety point of view? You have to do it in an emergency? What's your thought process on taking hits? Because I'm assuming you just don't like taking them.
No, I don't think hits are bad. They can definitely work out. I wouldn't be anti-hits. I try and, I only take them when I need to. So I had a really good start. So obviously I didn't really need to take any hits. I didn't have as many problems in my team as maybe other people did. And obviously, because I used the early wild card, that was the same as taking a load of hits, you know. So the early wild card helped me. And then, yeah, I just didn't need to take any hits until recently with all that United movement. Like that completely changed the league. Well, the fantasy league anyway. Solskjaer taking over. That moved things around a lot. But no, I wouldn't be anti-hits. I've definitely taken less this year, and I've tried to take less this year than I have, because I used to take loads. But yeah, if you need to do it, do it. And I've taken a few that have worked out. So it's and also a huge thing is don't judge hits after 1 week. Judge them after maybe 4 or 5 weeks, because while you might not make profit on the hit straight away, it can definitely come good after maybe 4 or 5 weeks. So it's not just about the upcoming game week when you're taking a hit. It's about the long term.
People watching this now would have been kind of wondering why we reacted to Paul Wickett being in the chat, and the reasoning is because Paul Wickett overtook you in the Elite FPL podcast. He is up to 163rd in the world. But what I wanted to ask you is, why do you think over the last 4 game weeks you've had 4 red arrows? So you've gone from 58th in the world, which, even me saying this just sounds ludicrous, me saying you've dropped all the way down, but you've gone from 58th down to 225th. But it's the last 4 game weeks that you've had 4 red arrows. Can you think why this is happening?
Yeah, I know why that's happened. It's because I haven't had Pogba until this week. The decision to get Martial instead of Pogba has been that reason, basically. So I only got Pogba in this week, and the 3 weeks before that, or whenever Solskjaer came in, I didn't get him in. So that is the short answer of why I've had red arrows, because everyone got Pogba. And I thought Martial would be playing more attacking, and he has been, but he's just, like, Rashford and Pogba have definitely improved under Solskjaer. And Solskjaer gave an interview where he was talking about how Rashford's changed the way he's shooting. He's doing the more kind of Thierry Henry passing into the goal, or he's trying to get him to do that. And some of his goals that he scored recently have been like that, where he used to just blast it and just kind of panic and freeze up and just blast it anywhere. But I think he's more kind of controlled now. So whereas Martial has just been kind of the same. I haven't really seen him play too differently. And obviously Pogba's completely changed. He's bombing forward like he never used to. So he's not having Pogba has hurt me. But I like it as a United fan. It's kind of the conflict of emotions, like you talked about, Dan, definitely exists in fantasy.
Because obviously you were saying about taking the Irish League seriously, and you kind of started noticing how well you were doing because of the Irish League.
Yeah.
Was there ever, because I used to mention it a lot in our podcast, but was there ever a moment when you thought, regarding the overall rank, where you thought, I could actually potentially get to the top 10 in the world if I just... Was there ever a thought process there with yourself?
Yeah, it can change so quickly. I still think I could do it. Because of the way the double game weeks and all the chips and stuff can change things. I'm gonna, like, I've been playing kind of safe the last few weeks just because I don't need to be the one taking big risks. It's the people below me that need to be doing that. But yeah, when it gets to the end, if I need to do it, I definitely will. I'll end up having to triple captain someone differential, you know, because there's no point in just bringing in the guy everyone's going to bring in. If you want to climb the ranking, like, you have to do something a bit different.
Well,
so I've been staying around recently, like where I am. My rank hasn't changed too much because I've been playing conservatively. But when with a few weeks to go, I'll start doing some aggressive moves to try and win it if I have the opportunity.
Well, it's a good thing. It's actually interesting you bring that up, because one of the good things that Liverpool not having a double game week is that the chip, such as the triple captain, isn't going to be just a banker on Salah. Because I'd imagine if Liverpool were going to have a double game week, that the majority would save it for that. I just want to butt in with a couple of questions from the guys in chat. So you mentioned earlier on in a question that Steve-O posed to you, you said about holding on to players perhaps for too long and where patience can turn to stubbornness. Do you feel that Richarlison has kind of crossed that line of patience for you now, and maybe even Hazard?
See, that's a hard one with Richarlison because he plays out of position. That's the reason everyone has him in the first place. He plays. He's basically a striker. He is a striker. It's just in the game he's a midfielder. Same with Salah. So I find it hard to take out a player like Richarlison just because he's properly playing up front. But he's definitely had a dip recently. And I know a lot of people are going to do Richarlison to Jota from Wolves this week. Because of the opposites. Obviously, Jota is now playing a little bit further forward and he's just scored a hat-trick. So, you know, bringing in a player who's just scored a hat-trick it is never a bad move, especially at that price. So if you're going to save $1 million, roughly, by bringing in Jota instead of Richarlison, that's definitely not a bad move. I can't do it because I have 3 Wolves players. I have Jimenez, Doherty and Patricio, so I can't do that. But I probably would have done that if I didn't have Jimenez. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what transfer I'm doing this week. I might try and save it and have 2 for a few weeks. To the weird blanks and all that. I'll see. I'd like to move Richarlison to Jota if I could, but can't.
It's not. I think it's fair to say that it's not a burning transfer that needs to be made before 2 cup games are played for the majority of top flight teams.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Yeah, sorry. You were going to say?
Yeah, it's not like Richarlison is definitely going to blank for the next few weeks. He's a type player because of how forward he plays that he can score in any game. So he's been doing badly recently. But I'm going to keep him for now anyway. Yeah.
So John Chappell in chat seems to. You mentioned your 4 red arrows. He's pointing at 4 players in your team, and that would be at Doherty, Richarlison, Hazard, and Patricio. Now we've obviously covered Hazard and Richarlison. Do you think that the glory days of Matt Doherty may be, limited now, as obviously Johnny was playing over him?
No. Well, he was. I actually didn't check why he was benched there, but I have no intention of taking out Doherty anytime soon because of his price and how he's not. He's another one playing out of position. He's a right winger in real life. He plays so far forward for that price. So many assists. He's already had goals. He's been a key to. I got him in really early as well, and he was unbelievable for me.
Okay.
The question, do you bring in? Pereira from Leicester would be the one that I would, if anyone wants to take out Doherty. I will be bringing Pereira from Leicester in soon.
But what price did you bring him in for?
4.4, I think. That's already.
Then that answers the question almost, because the amount of money you've got tied up with him. But you've got Paul Wickett. One final question before we ask Dan and Steve-O to continue with theirs. Paul Wickett is asking a question. The guy that's above you, as we've mentioned a couple of times. Did you ever have Son in your team? If you if you didn't, do you regret it? If you didn't, he's been the reason why my rank went up a lot.
No, I did have Son. I sold Son recently because he was going to the Asia Games, or the Asia Cup, whatever it's called. No, he was brilliant. I wish he stayed. I wish he didn't go to Korea.
So does Pochettino.
He was playing as a striker as well. Yeah, he was incredible.
Cool.
Definitely. So
I'll get him back in. I'll get Son back in soon.
Yeah, I mean, just to add, obviously we've covered it a little bit, but I mean, this season in particular, and any previous seasons as well, do you have a certain strategy? Like mine, as an example, is I always go my cheap defenders. I don't build from the back, and I always go for a top-heavy front line. So, like, I put a lot of value in my front, well, obviously my front three. And then, I mean, have you found all the value in midfield this season? Do you think that's part of your success? Sort of, we mentioned Richarlison before and Hazard. Is that what you kind of focus on, or was it?
I don't have a set strategy like that because I find that's just limiting yourself. Like if I tell myself, okay, I can't have expensive defenders, and then someone like Robertson from Liverpool comes along, I'll be there. I can't get him in because my strategy says I have cheap defenders. I don't have a strategy. I don't know what my strategy is. I just do it. I make decisions week by week. I did have expensive strikers at the start with Aguero, and now I don't because there's a lot of reasons. Aguero being injured and Kane being injured and Aubameyang just being too expensive in my opinion. So at the moment, yeah, expensive midfielders is where I'm going right now. But that can change. I mean, the game changes so quickly. But every week, it's like I remember everyone was saying that if you don't have triple Man City, what are you doing? And then 2 weeks later, it's like to offload all the Man City assets because they lost 2 games, but that was because they didn't have Fernandinho. Yeah, some people are very fit the way they look at it. Like everything changes so quickly.
I was going to ask Jack. So you don't need to name any specific other YouTube channels or websites or anything like that, but do you, like the three of us, use tip sites / forum sites to help you, or do you just purely stick to your own personal decision making? Because I find, along with Dan, that there is just so much information out there. It just can be just, I can't even think of the word, just messes up everything.
Overwhelming.
Yes,
but this is obviously the best place to come for all your FPL information. Just thought I'd add that in there. But
yeah. I follow a lot of people on Twitter and stuff like that, and then kind of because as you say, you can't possibly listen to everyone because you can only make one transfer a week or 2 transfers a week. So like I think it's about learning who has decent information, or you obviously value some people's opinion more than others, but there's no one person that I check or that I like copy or like any of that because it's like I basically just try and get as much information as I can, like and stats and stuff like that. Even though I wouldn't look too much into the stats, but at the end of the day, like we all make our own transfers every week, and it's like you can't be just. You have to make your own decisions. You can take all the information you want, and every year there seems to be more and more information regarding stats and stuff. But it's just about kind of.
Yeah,
do you get to?
Sorry, I just wanted to just carry on from what he said. I mean, I've certainly noticed, like, especially in the last 12 months, there's been an upsurge in podcasts, us being one of them. And there's obviously a lot of information on Twitter and various other social media. And, you said it just kind of touched on it. You make your own transfers. You take the information in. And, you're playing the game. It's you playing the game, not someone else on your behalf. So when you say that, you don't want to copy someone else because you won't get any satisfaction from just doing the same transfers that someone has done on a podcast, at the end of the day, you've taken the information, and that's where you get the satisfaction from when it pays off, because you've done the numbers, you've crunched it, you've made a make way into that game week with that player, and when it pays off, that's where you get the thrill of the what is FPL.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, and the number one player in the world now, he's not copying anyone. he obviously has a lot of information at hand, and he's using that. He's taking information from different, a little bit here, a little bit there, but he's not copying one person. He's not. He's making his own decisions, and that's like when I was talking about that decision earlier to get Mane out after he'd done really well. I wasn't copying anyone there. Like it's about getting all of the information you can, but then making the decision on that information.
But don't forget also that key thing you get as well, which is the gut feeling. Never underestimate that gut feeling, because there's so many times people look at have that feeling like bringing a player in and they don't do it because of whatever reason. But sometimes the gut instinct is something to listen to. Sorry for cutting you out there, Jack.
Definitely. That was the same thing. I had a gut feeling that Hazard was going to do really well, and he did. It doesn't always work that way, but I mean, it's a game at the end of the day. So if you're just copying people, that's not fun.
Just to interject, because I know Dan wanted to bring it up, but I'm going to say it anyway. So the City lineup for tonight has been announced, and
come on, Burn.
Basically, from an FPL perspective, you're looking at Aguero starts and De Bruyne starts. The rest of the team are just a bunch of,
kids.
Just nobodies really. And then on the subs bench, Mendy does make the subs bench, and so does Jesus, which kind of links me into a question FPL Queen sent us in, which is now Mendy is back fit, Jack. What do you think on the prospects of Sane? Because apparently there's going back to all these tip sites and everything, there's always talk about Mendy affecting Sane's returns or starts and whatnot. What do you look into that? Or do you just do what I do, which is take it literally, which is when Mendy starts, Sane doesn't? That's all you need to know. Or do you have to go into reading into so much information to the point of where it's like, I've got to look at various minute by minute to the point of the exact substitutions and all this malarkey, or is it just quite literally a case of if Mendy starts, Sane doesn't?
It's a bit of both. That's not a game tonight. It's a training session, and he's not starting in that. They're 9-0 up after the first leg, and he's on the bench. I don't know if, I think they genuinely would have more intense training sessions than that game. So, the fact that he's on the bench for that doesn't tell me that he's ready to go in the Premier League yet, and I definitely wouldn't bring him in until he does start a game. But when he does start a game, then he's there, then he's in. And when we know with Pep Guardiola, he loves Mendy. Mendy doesn't get benched really at all, and everyone, it's kind of a thing at the moment, or it's been a thing all year, that they don't really play together that often, Mendy and Sané, because they're both playing. They both play the exact same position, Mendy being a little bit more defensive. But I won't be bringing in Sané yet, or not at all, because of Mendy coming back. But that's not to say that if I own Sané, I'd be selling him. I wouldn't sell him until Mendy's, until he starts getting benched, which he might be. But even if Sané gets benched, I know there's a lot of people worried now because Mendy's back, but Sané would be coming on the last 20 minutes, for their strongest part of the game against the opposition's weakest part of the game. So it's not that big a deal if Sané starts getting benched the odd game. If Mendy comes back into the team, I'll be getting him for sure, because he won't. Pep has his plan, and even though Sané's playing so well, he could start benching. He's kind of like that. He makes these ruthless benchings of players that have been blatantly playing well. So. We could definitely see Sané getting benched in about two weeks' time.
What do you take from, say, what I call real life statistics, which is, for example, we mentioned Jota earlier. There's all this talk about why would I bring in Jota when the whole of this season he hasn't done really that well apart from the last few. When I look at it as, well, hold on a minute, if you take the last load of games he's been available, he's been doing really, really well. Whereas someone like Richarlison, who's virtually blanked in the last 8 or 9, but is highly owned, why would I not want to bring in Jota for Richarlison? Oh, it's because everybody seems to think that down the line, and and like these expected goal and assist statistics are suggesting Richarlison's going to explode, which means that the overall ownership will then overtake because of the fact that I've got Jota instead. What do you use as sample sizes to say, right, I want that player no matter what this highly owned player is doing? From a bad perspective.
Yeah, I had Jota in the first week this year. Because I looked at, obviously they were promoted side, and there was a lot of hype about Wolves because they won it so easily, and people were saying that they were the best team to ever be promoted and all this sort of stuff. And it's looking like that's the case. I mean, they've been unbelievable. And Jota was very integral to their success last year. I looked at the stats for him, and he was the most creative player. So I thought he was going to be a great pick. I thought, he could be in the team the whole season, but he didn't. From the first few games, it was clear that it was more Jimenez that was playing further forward, or that was getting involved more. So I took him out pretty early on, but now it's looking like Jota's playing a bit more forward, and he's kind of, and especially that he's just scored a hat trick. That means that is telling. Like it wouldn't be surprising at all if he went on a nice run now, Jota, because he did it all. And it was around this time last year in the Championship that he came on. He didn't have a great start, but he finished really, really well. So, if anyone's thinking of bringing in Jota, I think it's a good move.
Well, there was a question from Cy Bellamy, and it's a bit of fun. I know this will put a smile on Jason and Dan's face, but so you said you've been watching our podcast for a few months. Has there ever been a moment where you've listened to one of us three and gone, do you know what? That's really good advice. I'm going to do what that individual is saying. Has there ever been a moment, or has it not crossed your mind at all?
Yeah, like I know that you like to talk, Steve, about the history and how teams have done against certain teams. And there is merit to that because obviously certain teams defend in certain ways and certain teams attack in certain ways. So there's like a dovetail type of thing going on there with history. So yeah, that'd be the one thing that I definitely pay attention to, and not everyone talks about that. Because obviously a game that happened a year ago can't always apply to a certain game, but there is something there with history. So yeah, there's definitely been things that I've heard on this podcast that I've influenced me making a decision for sure.
And I know Jason wanted to ask this, but I'll just ask it as I'm in free-flowing chat. But from a shameless promoting kind of plug here, how did you actually find out about our podcast? When did it all start for you?
That's a good question. I think it just popped up on YouTube as a recommended for you, and I just clicked on it. I think that's how it came up. The YouTube algorithm.
What exactly grabbed you for watching and then continuously watching us for the preceding months up to us now interviewing you?
I think it's because it's kind of laid back and it's not as serious as some of the other ones. I mean, some of the other ones now, it's like watching Sky News. Like they really are. Like there's no joking around. It's very serious. And it's kind of a bit depressing at times. Like it's so people there talking bad game weeks and they're saying. I seen people on Twitter, no joke, talking about like FPL depression and all this sort of stuff. Like some people take it too seriously. This podcast is very kind of entertaining, lighthearted. You don't kind of take yourselves too seriously, and that's probably the reason.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could do a podcast alone on my thoughts on the FPL world, but I'm glad you said that because it's something that the three of us pride ourselves on, in the fact that we're just three blokes that love to play fantasy football, and we take a mini league, a cash mini league that we do very, very seriously. And we just thought we just want to express ourselves on a more global market, so to speak. And it's just kicked off to the point of now where we're now doing an Elite FPL podcast, Elite FPL mini league, where the players in that league are just absolutely ludicrous. Now, how does it feel being, as you were, number one in the Elite until literally the other day? How will it feel for you to maybe lose out to Paul Wickett after leading it for so long? Because it was only being set up Only until recently.
Yeah, it's I didn't even know. I thought I was miles ahead in that league until last week. I checked the thing and I saw it down to second. I was like, what the hell? I thought I was way ahead. But yeah, we'll have a nice rivalry now. We'll see. There's still a long way to go. Still a long way for me to get that first place back, or I could just fall down to the bottom. Who knows?
What are the guys saying?
I know. What does it feel like? Never mind. What does it feel about being number one in the Elite FPL podcast league? What does it feel to possibly win one of our, newly printed FPL mug, Manager of the Month award mugs? How does it feel to possibly be in for a chance of winning one of those coveted prizes?
Is that for Manager of the Month? Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
So, how many months was I Manager of the Month in the league?
I'll have to have a look. We can backdate it.
I'll do that now. And then you guys, you guys chat to that. I'll find out now.
So
I'm on it.
So basically, in chat, we've actually got quite a few questions that I'm going to try and quick fire you, Jack. So we got John Chappell says. What is his thoughts on a Liverpool attacking double up? Salah and Firmino or Salah and Mane going forward with their fixtures?
I would say, well, does he already have to? It depends if he already has to defend like Van Dijk or Robertson. I mean, most people do have Robertson, but I'm liking Van Dijk at the moment. Firmino is he's always been a bit. Like he assists the assister, if that makes sense. He does kind of behind the scenes work, and he is a very good player in real life. But in fantasy, he's kind of frustrating to own because he passes the guy that makes the assist. So I don't know about Firmino. I know a lot of people are getting him in the last 2 weeks, but I won't be for now. Mane, if it was me now personally, that question's Mane or Firmino, just because. Like Mane has got some lows in him coming up. I think he's been a bit unlucky. So like I said, he was going to regress earlier on in the season. I think he might have a bit of an uptick soon. Their fixtures. So Mane, short answer.
Cool. Mane then. So very quick. Yeah. What? Sorry.
So just before you do it, Jason, this will just make you chuckle. So Jack, we've only really been doing the Elite FPL League since October, but it really kicked off in November, which. Yes, you did win it. And who did you beat me? You beat me by 9 points for the Manager of the Month in November. And some of the regulars that were in it. So Ian Darlington came third in the November month. Then it was Vince Chapman. And then Brett Mollison was fifth. And Dejan Chenko was sixth. And then you came third in December. And who was number one? Your rival, Paul Wickett. So... you'd have only won it once, actually.
All right.
Really?
Okay, that's awkward. So Brett Mollison in chat says, Jack, I got rid of my City assets recently because of the frustration with rotation. Even though they're giving me a good scores, I was looking for consistent starters. Thoughts? So basically, Brett's asking, was it wise of him to get rid of his City assets because of the rotation risks? And what are your thoughts with that decision going forward?
I think you kind of have to have at least one City player most of the time. And the rotation, and people make a bigger deal out of rotation, I think, than it actually is. Like these players like Sané and Sterling and well, Aguero is different because of an injury, but Sané and Sterling, it's not like they miss 2 games in a row ever really this season. They always play some part. I have Sterling, and I'm going to keep him for a while because he doesn't get rotated too much. He has in the past. I think he got rotated a bit last year, the year before, but he's kind of. I haven't considered De Bruyne at all, even though he has been really good the 2 seasons before. Until he starts doing something until he starts scoring and assisting more, I won't consider him. But I'd like to, because he is world class when he gets going.
Cool. I think Brett's going to take a hit to get his old Man City players back in. It seems in chat. So yes. Right. So reading through I'm reading through. I should have done this when you were answering, but I was too busy listening to what you were saying. So yeah, a lot of people agreeing with you about our laid-back podcast atmosphere. Anything, Dan, you want to add?
Yeah, I was just because we mentioned it the other day actually when you came on in preparation for this about Gonzalo Higuain, who is moving to Chelsea. He's in London today, obviously doing the medical and whatnot. You mentioned before about Hazard and frustration with it. I mean, is Higuain somebody you'd be looking to get in? Obviously, he comes with a good reputation, but you know, Juventus loaned him to AC Milan. Now they're loaning him to Chelsea. Obviously, 2 years ago, Arsenal were linked with him throughout the whole 2016 summer. That never materialised, as ever, with any big signings we try and make. But Higuain, is that someone on your radar? Or wait and see?
Why are they loaning him out? That's what I'm wondering. You know, there's got to be a reason.
Well,
whether it's an attitude thing or I don't know what it is, but apart from that, even if he was being sold permanently, some of these world star players, they just can't do it in the Premier League. And like we've seen it with Di Maria. He was considered one of the best in the world when he came to United. Didn't really do anything. Falcao went to United. Didn't really do anything. There's been so many of them.
Torres went to Chelsea.
Torres
won a Champions League with Chelsea.
When he went from Atletico, it's unreal. And then after when he went to Chelsea, he was I won't be getting Higuain straight away. If he starts straight away banging in goals, I will, because there's not many great options up front at the moment. If Hazard and Higuain start linking up really well and it's like a noticeable thing, then yeah, definitely, because he can do it. It's just a question of whether he can do it on a cold night. So as they say, even though.
Yeah, we definitely want to watch. I mean, are there any other questions in the chat at all, Jason? Or
yeah, so Ilka, I think it's Ilka. Let me know if I got your name wrong. Hortananian. Hortananian? That looks like a very Icelandic name. It looks Icelandic. In fact, I watched a TV show called Vikings, and it reminds me of that. That cup is mine. I'm joining the league next game week. That's what I want to see. I want to see more people joining the FPL podcast league. We get the more competitiveness, and it brings the level of the league even higher. If it can get any higher. To be fair, we've got some crazy players in it. Notorious Nerd says Mendy seems to get more minutes than Sane when both are fit. That's a good point. He does, like Jack said earlier. Guardiola does like Mendy quite a lot, but in recent weeks, I'm sure Sane's done a good bit of showcasing what he can add to the team. It's
I can see a situation now where Guardiola actually does bench Sane, and everyone will be saying he's been playing amazing, he's incredible. Why are you benching him? But he's so his way that he'll just do it, because Mendy is world class. And if you see, like, at the start of the first few weeks, it was just like, I'm a United fan and I enjoy watching Mendy because he's so much better than everyone else in what he does in terms of crossing. Like he crosses the ball from a first touch off a pass better than most corner takers do off a dead ball. Like, his accuracy is ridiculous. And he's had quite a bad injury, but like he's been sent to this place in Barcelona that Guardiola sends all his guys to. This guru doctor that worked on Guardiola himself, and he works on all the top players in the world. And he's come back quicker than most players do from that injury. So if he comes back into that team, 100%, I'd say get him in, just because his price, first of all, and yeah, it'll work well getting him in if I can.
Looking at your team in front.
No, you go ahead, Steve.
Looking at your team in front of me now, Jack. Are there any areas in which you feel that you think, right, I've got to get rid of this player to bring in X players? So you've got Robertson, Doherty, Digne, Wan-Bissaka and Schindler as your defence. Then a power five of Hazard, Richarlison, Sterling, Salah, and Pogba. Jimenez, Rashford, and Camera. Camera, of course, today in the news that that's arrested. Are there any? You look at all this stuff, and they're like things that you just think, "Oh, I've got to get rid of this player." And I mean, the Begovic.
Definitely, there's a few mistakes there for sure. Like Camera was obviously a mistake. That was ridiculous for him. He had a gift to come into the first starting 11, and he wins a penalty and rips the ball off the regular penalty taker, and the manager comes out straight away, basically lambasting him in public, and now he's out of the team. It looks like I don't think he'll play again for fun, the way it sounds. So that was bad. And we've got Begovic. That was another mistake. I can't really remember what. Like I think they had a good fixture on when I got him in. He hasn't done great. And Patricio, I had a chance a few weeks ago to bring in Fabianski, and West Ham's fixtures were looking good, and I didn't do it. Missed out on points from that. So those three I would like to get rid of. As if I could bring out. See, I just don't like making goalie transfers ever, really, unless it's a wild card, because kind of boring, and you don't know whether it's going to even work out that well. But if I could, if I was wildcarding now, I would definitely get rid of Patricio, Begovic, Charleston to Jota. I would probably do. Hazard, I don't know. Hazard can turn it on whenever. He can just I don't usually believe in this, but I know if I took out Hazard, he'd score 2 goals straight.
I know that feeling.
He's a key player that does that. Take out Hazard, he's going to score.
So I just wanted to bring it up very quickly because Andy Salter in chats actually mentioned it earlier and again mentioned it. You've mentioned Kamara. Now I don't know if you are aware, but Kamara has been arrested on suspicion of ABH.
We just said that, Jason. Thank you.
Really? Oh, okay. I was reading the news article. Sorry.
We didn't really address the seriousness of it. He's been.
So people. So he said. So Andy Salter in chat is saying that's the end of. It seems to be the end of Kamara's football career.
You reckon he had the fight with Mitrovic, the boxing match I was on about him? I reckon that's what it. Because they had this argument about the penalty, then they had the argument in the yoga session, and now it's.
I mean, he doesn't understand how privileged he has it being a Premier League footballer, and how he's just basically thrown, or seemingly thrown, his career basically down the toilet. It's just unbelievable, really.
And it was very inconvenient for a lot of FPL managers out there as well. It's not.
Yeah.
I've been lucky that my other subs were able to get in ahead of him. Like, if he came on and he had done that, or if I had to play him now, I don't know. I want to get rid of him as soon as possible.
Talking of that, Jack, I always say regarding take Jason's last game week 23. And I always talk about if you're a top manager, your luck always seems to be in. Where do you place luck as a percentage of how well, not specifically you're doing at this game, but just luck in general? How far do you put that as a percentage overall for anybody's success in the game?
I couldn't put a number on 80% skill, 20% luck or something like that. But it definitely exists. Like, obviously, bringing in a player and him hitting the post and the ball creeping in, you can't control that sort of stuff. It's kind of you kind of make your own luck. Like, I always look at fixtures, not just form and that, fixtures. When bringing in a player, and if they score, they score. If they don't, they don't. It's not like you can't control any of it. You can just try and make the best possible decisions you can. And sometimes you get outrageously lucky. Sometimes you get outrageously unlucky. Players scoring own goals, like Digne scored an own goal last week. And, that was lucky. But him scoring whatever he did, 17 points 2 or 3 weeks before that was definitely lucky. I think what goes around comes around, and I've been really lucky, and I've been unlucky. Everyone it kind of all balances itself out. If you all you can do, all that you can control is just keep making the best possible decision every week, and then luck will sort itself out.
What I was going to say is, how do you feel? So say like going into Man United, Man City, and you've got a City asset in your team. So let's just say Guerrero or David Silva. And for me, when I've got like it's Arsenal, Tottenham, and I've got Son playing, and Son he dives to win a penalty basically against Holding. I just don't care particularly. I'm always like I always say to Jason and Steve that I'm an Arsenal fan, football fan first, and then FPL very 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 close second. But how do you feel in that particular scenario? Say if Aguero scores, or is it like, oh well, at least it's an asset of mine scoring, or are you just like, I don't care, it's pissed me off? Or how do you feel in that particular scenario?
Well, it's kind of weird, like because I'm doing really well now. It's like fantasy can often be number one, but the fact that now I have 2 United players in, that I'm always going to be up for them anyway. Like if I was doing average, I would never want United to concede a goal. But now it's like, say tomorrow United are playing Man City, and I have Sterling, and 5 minutes to go, City go 1-0. I'm thinking, well, okay, you may as well win 3 or 4 now, because United won't get the 3 points, and it's what matters now at this stage. So it's kind of, I don't like that, but that's just the way it is. I'm not going to lie and say that when Sterling is playing, I don't want him to score. It's kind of like, if I'm trying to win the Irish League anyway, I need to at some stage have one of my players score against United.
So for people watching this, because we're going to be closing up soon, we'll be going for nearly an hour now, and it's been absolutely brilliant. For people watching this, let's be honest here, they're watching this thinking, oh, I've got to get something out of Jack which will help me climb the rankings. And let's just say someone's not particularly having a great season.
Dan,
what advice would you give them to just climb the ranks? Dan, where are you, Dan? 128,000th in the world? Something like that?
Yeah, but I will say that I'm not overly and I finished above. I think I finished above you last season, Jason. So like, sorry, pipe down.
It's tongue in cheek, mate. It's fine.
I'm safe in that.
Anyway, what I will say is that that's not a bad position. And there's people that won't name any names, but there's people on Twitter that have Patreon pages that charge people every month for their advice, and they're doing a lot worse than you are. So it can change. It can change really quickly. Like that week that I went from 40k to 2k or whatever, that was just 1 week. All it takes is, obviously to climb, one thing that is for sure, you will have to have some differentials. Having a template team at that round increase, that's just the way it is. Like if I was in your position, I'd be getting differentials, because it's not. And then now it's hard to not captain Salah for the next few games, but you'd half your rank if you captained Sterling over Salah and he did something that Salah didn't. Now, I won't do that because I don't have to do that. I'm not the one that has to take risks. Neither does Jason. It depends what your rank is. But one thing for sure is, to climb, you have to have differentials. It's not enough to just have templates. So, yeah, that's the only advice I'd have, really. And just don't go too mad on the hits. Just try and bring in differentials when you can.
And when do you think, personally, you're going to start? You've already kind of mentioned it. Just to clarify, when do you think you will start looking at differentials from anybody? I mean, for instance, Paul Wickett, he did his -8 and he brought in Dele Alli. Well, that one transfer was actually the one that pretty much took him above you. When will you start thinking in your head, for example, when Lucas Moura returns for Tottenham, there's a lot of talk about him maybe playing up front. Would there be an opportunity there where you think, right, I'm going to get him in immediately, or would it be a wait and see and then maybe bring him in?
That was a very good move from him, bringing in Ali, and he was very unlucky that Ali got injured then straight away.
Yeah.
That was because Ali does really well when Kane's not been around. That's kind of a thing. And whenever Kane's been out, Ali stepped up, and he did so straight away. But now he's injured, so that's unlucky. Lucas Moura, I don't think I'll be bringing him in. I'll see. Now I don't. Again, kind of going back to, if you want to climb, you have to make these moves straight away. But when I'm in a decent rank, I kind of have I'm allowed kind of wait 1 week because I'm not trying to climb too much, but I can wait and see. But I wouldn't be there. Like some people say, oh, give it 4 or 5 weeks and then make a decision. Like that's what real scouts do in real life. You know, you watch them for a few weeks and then you see. But this is you can't be waiting 5-6 weeks to bring players in. 1 week, I'd say. If you're thinking about bringing any player in, watch one game and then make the decision. Don't be there for 5-6 weeks watching the guy and then bring him in. That's, in my opinion, that's too long. If you're going to bring someone in, do it.
I mean, how many you said about it at the start? You alluded to it at the start. We always got to get that word in some point in the podcast. But how many live games do you watch? Obviously, you'd be watching the United games as a fan, but I mean, we always talk about the eye test, and I just love watching football anyway myself. But do you watch a lot of the other games and the highlights, or? Yeah,
I try and watch match of the day like whenever I can. I always watch the early kickoffs on Saturday, the 12:30 one, and then the Monday Night Football. I'd watch that. As many I'd try and watch live full games, maybe 3 or 4 a week anyway, and because it's different teams are playing on Mondays and early kickoffs every week, you get a feel of how they play and stuff. And I'd put that ahead of stats. You can't be watching a player in real life and seeing how he plays, how hard he tries. Some of the players don't try as hard as other players. Like Richarlison doesn't try very hard, and that's a part of the reason that I'll be thinking of getting him out maybe next week. Whereas other players, like Salah, Rashford, they try as hard as anyone.
Yeah, Rashford's definitely one that's...
And they can't... Stats won't tell you how hard a guy's trying. Yeah, you just have to watch it to see.
And do you think as well, obviously, you've obviously been playing FPL for a few years now. I mean, do you think playing FPL has heightened your enjoyment of watching football? So for me, for example, players like Mahrez, Pascal Gross that I've mentioned before have been kind of like cult heroes, and I've sort of had an appreciation more for players from teams I wouldn't necessarily watch before I played FPL. Is that something you can relate with as well?
100%. Why else would I be watching a Huddersfield Cardiff game when I need Schindler to get a clean sheet?
Decent defender, Schindler. He's all right,
Yeah, no, he is. Yeah, I got him real cheap. He hasn't done too much now, but he's just someone for a 2-point on the bench. But those tiny games that you usually wouldn't care about at all. Suddenly, if you have a fantasy asset in it, you can sit through it. It makes it a lot more exciting.
Makes it more interesting.
It can be painful as well, obviously, but it's definitely worth it.
Definitely. Is there any other comments in the chat at all, Jason?
Yeah, I just want to, as we're getting towards the end of the podcast, I just thought I might make a few points of Jack's team for those listening, and also for Jack himself, if he doesn't already know the situation with how he's performed. Obviously, everyone knows Jack's well in the top 1,000. Some interesting stats. So Jack has had a successful pick ratio of 87% on his captains, which is insane. That's really good. 20 out of 23 captains he's managed to return hauls on. He's got his majority of his points were from midfielders. Now 682 of his points come from midfield. He's averaging a point score of 66.74 points a game week, which is incredible. His best game week was back in game week 5, where he scored 95. So he hasn't hit that big 100 mark just yet. And he's been 20 times, 87% of the time, he is above average on the game weeks. So, yeah, definitely deserves to be where he is. And a couple of more things. The most started player is Richarlison, 18 game weeks. The most points has come from Salah. The bench warmer, Begovic, 15 game weeks on the bench. And just some interesting key points from your team there, from a tool I use. And we'll quickly have a look at chat to see what's being said in chat. And Notorious Nerd saying that he's thinking of bringing in Trippier for Alonso. Guys, I'm opening it up to all of you guys. I think Alonso is a ship that sailed. I personally I got rid of him game week 15, I think. I've not missed him one iota. Trippier, I mean, it's the Spurs team. They're a bit weakened now. I personally wouldn't go anywhere near Spurs. If I owned Alonso now, I probably wouldn't waste. I would class that as wasting a transfer myself. Now, I'm going to throw it to you guys. So we'll start with Dan. What's your thoughts on that?
I hate bigging up Spurs, but like they have got some good fixtures coming up, and we talk about, obviously Jack's advice to me was to take some risks on some differentials, and Trippier, I mean, with his crossing ability, I mean, say about the eye test, watching him, the way that he can whip a ball in, it just, for me, it depends on who they play up front, whether Llorente is going to be leading the line again or whether it's going to be Mora. So, I mean, Alonso, that's why I'm not in the top four, because I've never had him in during the season. But I think, like you say, the ship sailed for him. I've never had him in. No. I've been relying on Robertson, Doherty.
Outside your house, Dan.
The FPL police are outside, mate.
Yeah, sorry I didn't get Alonso in. I am quite near a main road here, so that is a crime against FPL. All right, stop with that now. But but yeah, Trippier could be an interesting one if you've got the funds to it, and if, as we always say, if there's not more pressing issues. I mean, I don't know what you think, Sivo, about Trippier in for Alonso.
6.1. The next three fixtures are all at home: Watford, Newcastle, Leicester. For me, it's more his attacking potential rather than his defensive potential, because I just find with Spurs that their record is excellent from a defensive point of view, but because they don't really concede that many goals, from a clean sheet perspective, they're not really that great. However, I don't think it's worth bringing in Trippier myself. I would personally go with a more cheaper defender, maybe even a Burnley asset. Burnley have got some really good fixtures coming up. Tom Heaton is back, and we're back to our old winning ways from last season.
All right. Okay.
And
Tom Heaton's back.
I respect that, Steve-O.
Hey, Steve-O, I think you should take that favourite word of you, alluded, and add a D before it.
But from a cheap defensive perspective, I think there's a lot of potential there. I mean, in the last four game weeks, we've had 2 clean sheets. So I think certainly looking at the more cheaper defenders around to bring in for Alonso, it's difficult, I know. I mean, that's a question actually for you, Jack.
Yeah.
Do you look at prices in the sense of, so does it kind of sway your thought process in the sense of, oh my God, I can't captain Rashford against, say, Burnley because Salah is in my team and he's up against, let's just say, a Chelsea or something like that. I don't know, but do the price points sway your decision making?
Yeah, well, just to answer the question in chat about Trippier, my advice for that would be to, if you can, just check Leicester's fixtures. Leicester from game week 27. The next 3 are bad, but it's quite ridiculous.
Jack,
their fixtures.
Jack, don't give away secrets. Don't give away your secrets, mate. Pereira is already on my list. Don't worry.
It's quite amazing. Their fixtures from game week 27 to game week 34. So if he can hold on to Alonso for 2 or 3 weeks and then make the move to Pereira, because he plays kind of like Doherty. He's not a defender, really. He plays so far up the pitch. It's ridiculous. So he's going to be he will score highly between 27 and 35, and I'll be bringing him in for sure. Because Palace at home, Brighton at home, Watford away, Fulham at home, Burnley away, Bournemouth at home, Huddersfield, Newcastle at home. I mean, that's just crazy. If he's fit, I think he'll have to be in everyone's team. And then, sorry, about price points. Yeah, it definitely does. It shouldn't affect me, but it does. If I have Hazard at 11 million, and I'm thinking about captaining Rashford at 7, whatever, it feels weird to do that because it's he's only cost that much. Why would I captain him? But it shouldn't, but it does.
Okay.
I don't like captaining a cheap player. It's just I can't bring myself to do it, especially with the effective ownership of Salah. I'll captain Salah for the next 4 weeks without really thinking about it, just because, well, it's Salah. It doesn't need any explanation. Like he's
well, just to close off, as we pretty much come to the end, I'm sure Jason will give us the thumbs up when to end it. But what are your early thought processes on your next team selection? Is it get and forget as it is now?
For this coming game week?
This coming game week, yeah, next week, yeah.
Well, Captain Salah, I think everyone's going to, well, it won't be as clear-cut as it was this week, but I'm assuming the majority will Captain Salah. Pogba and Rashford against your boys, Burnley, that's enticing as well. But realistically, I will Captain Salah. I won't be able to sway myself. Sterling away at Newcastle is nice as well, but because of my rank, I can't. It would be pretty detrimental if Salah did something ridiculous and I didn't have him captain. So, if I wanted to climb the rankings, I would go for someone like Sterling or Rashford.
This kind of is a question for myself / the psychology behind everything. So, for me, as it stands right now, I have Aubameyang captain versus Cardiff. But I know for a fact that for safety, I'm going to go with Salah. I know that. The point being, though, is that what's putting me off Aubameyang isn't the fact that he's playing Cardiff and that his form's a bit over the place and Salah's form's really good. It's the fact that Arsenal game is on the Tuesday. If it was on Wednesday at 8 o'clock and Liverpool was actually on the Tuesday at 7:45, I'd probably go for Aubameyang. Are you somebody that has this weird psychology effect where you want to leave your captain as late as possible? So, for example, if Liverpool were playing the early kickoff, but United had Burnley later on the following Sunday or something like that, does this have any effect on your mindset, or is it just no? This is the most logical captain choice. Stick it on him, no matter how early the game is.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. That, like, say, well, this is a midweek, so it's kind of different. But, like, say for a Monday night game, you'd want to just focus on that game and have your captain play the game rather than just listening to Jeff Stelling describe an assist or something like that. You know, it's very different. But no, I definitely try and just go for the most logical. I mean, it shouldn't matter what time they're playing at. Some people don't like the early kickoffs and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, unless you know that they're going to be drinking the night before and you don't want to captain them in early kickoff, it shouldn't make any difference what time they're playing at. I'm
really tempted to a captain Aubameyang this week. I've genuinely had the thought. They're at home. The thought has crossed my mind a few times.
Well, I mean, that's another one. Like, if you captain Salah, you're not going to get. You won't get any kind of rise from that. It'll just be like you won't lose. But if you captain Aubameyang and Salah just happens to not do anything, that would be a huge rise. It's a gamble. It's a gamble, but it's a real I can't make any ground from captaining Salah.
Yeah.
But I can definitely lose ground by not doing it, and conversely, I could get into even higher a higher spot if I went off Salah. But that's for me. That's too much of a gamble. Even though I do like the odd gamble sometimes, but I won't be rank, I suppose.
Well, it's funny you say that because the game week just gone, my two nearest rivals in our mini league, the Roosh brothers, they're a bit like the Cray twins, but they're in our mini, and I've just been sandwiched in between them just below the money spots. And come Saturday morning, I looked at it and I seen they both captain Sterling. And as I said on the previous podcast, I was just like, what do they know that I don't know? But I obviously captain Salah. So like you say, captain Salah is like the safe bet each week. But if you want to go up, like I need to take risks to go up, it's like, but maybe 1 week I'll captain Aubameyang. So it is, I don't know. Yeah, scary.
Like Leicester just conceded 4 goals to Wolves, and they're playing away at Anfield. That's just I can't say not captain Salah this week.
I was going to say it's you mentioned about in the next few weeks getting a Leicester asset in. They may have a new manager by then, you know. So actually, but you should be onto something.
Form fixtures is actually more important than form for me, because it's those fixtures are too hard to ignore, and it's not even the clean sheet potential with Pereira. It's the how much attacking threat he has. So like I find that like good fixtures can lead to form.
Yes.
So I think fixtures are more important than form. And seeing that with teams going into the nice fixture run, certain guys come into form after the nice fixtures come.
Okay.
I reckon Claude Puel, just to finish, I think he could be sacked because I don't know if you watched the game on Saturday or the highlights. I mean, he looked, particularly when Wolves scored their fourth goal, he was going absolutely berserk. And when Leicester scored the third goal, because he's normally quite a reserved guy, but he looks like a guy very, very much under pressure. So that could be interesting. Obviously, if Leicester do get, I'm just speculation, but just from what I saw, if Leicester do get a new manager, it could be that whole, like with Southampton, that new manager effect that could make their assets worth owning. So, sorry, Jay, you were saying.
Yeah. So guys, we're approaching 90 minutes now. Since I started the stream. So, yeah, I know. So we got Capkin Gaming's joined us in chat. Welcome to the stream. Just got home a bit late, missed the majority of the podcast, but you can always hit the replay button and watch it back in your own time. Feel free to do that. We've got some really good points, good questions posed to Jack from Dan, Stevo, myself, and from the chat. We've managed to get a majority of questions through to Jack. Obviously, we can only do so much. So yeah, I think it pretty much comes to the end of our interview with Jack this evening. Want to thank everybody that's taken time to ask Jack questions and to feedback to us how they've enjoyed the podcasts over recent days. Feedback, positive and negative. It's always good to get an understanding of what the community is looking for from this podcast. And Jack, major thank you to you for coming on. It's the first time you've done anything like this, and chatting with us. And you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to come on again. In the future, and share your opinions and thoughts if you'd like to. Dan and Stevo, anything last you want to just touch upon before we sign out?
Just to say, obviously, thanks, Jack, for joining. Been really insightful, actually. It's given me a bit of motivation to push on for the second half of this season and get up that mini league. Maybe get above Steve. That would be nice. But no, obviously, anyone that's joined us in the chat, thanks for that as well. As Jason said, if you're watching us on the replay, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and also interact with us on Instagram and Twitter. I mention these every time. Elite FPL. So we're on Instagram, on Twitter. Just stay tuned to us on them for any future announcements of any future podcasts. And obviously we do a bit of extra content on there as well. So I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah.
So till the next time. Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care.
Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers, Jack.